Good afternoon and welcome. Day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's UK visit, there are protests now against the Prime Minister that are beginning to gain strength. The British Indian protesters from the Awaz network have projected an image of Modi with a sword and an Om sign, modifying to look like a swastika. Now, the image was projected on the British Parliament with the words, quote unquote, Modi not welcome, that has been splashed across, as you can see on your screens right now. Different group of protesters are now planning to come together to agitate in front of 10 Downing Street, where Narendra Modi will be landing in London. Few Labour Party leaders are also likely to take part in those protests. Now, until 2012, Prime Minister Modi was barred from entering the UK over allegations of the 2002 Gujarat riot. Narendra Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to be visiting the United Kingdom in nearly a decade when he lands on the 12th of November. Lavina Tandon now joins us for more on this. Lavina, just before the Prime Minister descends to London, there are already, protests. What is this image all about?
This is an image that has absolutely mind-boggled everyone since yesterday. One sector, Awaz, says that this image was projected on the Parliament, as you have seen. Now, that is an extremely a big feat to achieve, and it was done on Sunday, 9 o'clock for 1 minute. Even for 1 minute to do that on the Parliament is a big feat, I say, because there is 24/7 vigilance of police at that time. I spoke to the police, and they said no permission has been taken for that, and they had no knowledge of it. Now, this question has been raised in the Parliament by Bob Blackman, the MP, who we will be speaking to very soon. But we still are trying to. There is a big, huge division about whether this actually happened or not. Awaz says it does. Police says they didn't give the permission. So that's a big divide on that. Also, the whole image of swastika. Now, it's not only to do that on the Parliament. We are actually saying something for the Jews, and that would hurt a number of Jews that stay here. To do that on the Parliament that went against and fought the whole world war, is also another feature that has been coming. But as far as Modi is concerned and the protest is concerned, they are gaining strength, of course. There are lots of people who have this whole Awaz network, and there are many, many other networks who are saying that they will be coming. We will see what happens, but they will be coming forward, especially in front of 10 Downing Street on the 12th of November. Similarly, the supporters have said that they will turn up in big numbers because there are 450 welcome partners to Modi. So the UK Modi group would say that they are being outnumbered. On the other hand, the Awaz people are saying that Awaz and many other organizations that he's not welcome. So it's going to be a very interesting space to watch out for on the 12th, 13th and 14th.
Right. Lavina, just stay with me. Editor Shiv Arur is also with us now. Shiv, Narendra Modi received a huge and a grand reception in the United States. I can never forget that rock star welcome he got at Madison Ground. But, his visit to the UK is an important moment, but it's already generating quite a lot of controversy even before his arrival.
Absolutely, Avantika. There have been many anti-Modi voices, a large mobilization that has already taken place against Modi before his arrival in London late tomorrow night. And all of it now, like Lavina pointed out, is focused on this one image that's gone completely viral. As Lavina pointed out, there's a huge fight both online and offline over whether this image was actually projected. Is it authentic or is it photoshopped and morphed? That's something that's taking place both online and offline between this organization, Awaz, and the London Metropolitan Police and the security around British Parliament. But this image itself, the fact that there is an image, whether photoshopped or not, has not precluded it from going completely viral. If you take a look at this image really carefully, it is well planned. This is an unmistakable, place. That's the Big Ben, that's British Parliament, some of the best known structures in the world. And that picture, using sort of Nazi motifs. You've got a picture of Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, holding a sword. It says Modi not welcome emblazoned across it. And very, very importantly, Avantika, like Lavina pointed out, the swastika symbol, the unmistakable image of the Nazis,
yes.
Edited to look like an Om. is something that's not gone down very well at all. So, while the fight has, sort of centered around whether this image is authentic, whether this image was projected or not, what this NGO, Awaaz.org.uk, has achieved is virality with this image. The message has gone out. The anti-Modi sentiment of this particular organization has definitely sunk in because this image has gone viral for a very long time now. People are sharing it all over the place. The fight has gone beyond whether the image is authentic or not and become about that anti-Modi sentiment that this organization actually wants to send out. So at this point of time, Awaaz.uk.org, the organization that has, claimed to have projected this image on British Parliament, plus several other groups and NGOs that, say that Modi is not welcome, have obviously, gotten themselves heard in a very, very emphatic manner. And this just hours before the Prime Minister leaves for London.
Yes, absolutely, Shiv. Now, Shiv, the Prime Minister's visit is a hugely anticipated visit and it's already drawing flack from, quarters in Britain. This would come as a huge embarrassment, especially the, image being beamed like this on the walls of the British Parliament.
Embarrassing for sure, but not something that Narendra Modi is not accustomed to. In fact, not just Narendra Modi, any leader, in fact. There have been times when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had gone to the UK, when there were protests against him for various reasons. Leaders like Narendra Modi are accustomed to seeing protests, mobilizations of this kind all across the world. Obviously, most of it centered around what happened in 2002 in Gujarat. But as far as the BJP itself is concerned, they've got voices like the overseas friends of the BJP, who've tried to attack these voices and said that these are inauthentic, these are vested interests, this is an international conspiracy. Here in India, before Narendra Modi actually leaves, there hasn't been much of a, hasn't been much said from the BJP itself about this image. But the standard response has always been that, a leader of Modi's stature will always, draw these kind of vested interests, opinions against him, especially because of because he's making waves on the international scene among the Committee of Nations, among the international order, and therefore people will always try and bring him down. But that does not, preclude from the fact that this time especially in the United Kingdom, Avantika, as you rightly pointed out, we're seeing a particularly ferocious sort of series of attacks on Narendra Modi before his arrival there. You didn't see it in the United States. There were protests in the United States as well, but in the UK you're seeing a particularly ferocious series of anti-Modi mobilizations centered around this image. This image has now sort of become a rallying point for the anti-Modi sentiment that some of these groups are hoping to project before the Prime Minister lands there.
Right. Shiv, can you tell us a little bit more about Awaaz Network? What is this group? Who are these people who are spearheading this protest campaign against the Prime Minister?
Avantika, Awaaz.uk.org claims to be, a political activism, a social organization that functions in the United Kingdom. I just had a look at their website, and virtually all of it is about Narendra Modi. In fact, it's almost entirely centered around, Narendra Modi's past, the cases against him, how they claim that he got away with murder, how Modi is not welcome in the United Kingdom. So, over the last couple of hours, we've had a look at some of the things that they've actually put out, and they claim that this is something that they've been doing for a very long time. They're a rallying point for anti-Modi voices in the United Kingdom. So in terms of precisely what they do, we're actually trying to get in touch with Awaaz.org.uk to get their side of the picture. They've spoken to India Today's Lavina Tandon in London about what their work is, what they're intending to do. What we also do know is that they actually attempted to put a projected image on 10 Downing Street, and when that failed, they made this attempt. That is, of course, assuming that this actually did take place. But what they have said with certainty is that when Narendra Modi lands there, they will be making attempts to be heard while the Prime Minister is there as well. So you can expect protests from this group and others as well.
All right, Shiv, just stay with me. I have with us on the phone line Kalpana, who's the co-founder of Awaaz Network. Kalpana, if you can hear me, if you could just tell me, was this image beamed by your organization?
Well, Awaaz is a network of organizations. I'm from the South Asia Solidarity Group, which is one of those. And what this message is saying is that there are a lot of us in this country who do not wish to welcome Modi, and we're very angry about the kind of politics of hate and the fascist politics which Modi has been promoting. So that's clearly the message of the projection.
All right, Kalpana, my colleague and editor of our channel, Shiv Arur, is also with me. He would like to ask you a couple of questions.
Kalpana, there's a great deal of controversy over whether this image is authentic or whether it's been, morphed and edited. But one thing is for sure, this image has gone completely viral. Can you authenticate for us? Because our correspondent in London says that there's a bit of a disagreement between the London police and Awaz over whether this projection of this image actually happened. Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, we are aware that the projection actually happened. The technology is there to do that, and it was done.
And can you tell us what you plan to do once Prime Minister Modi gets there? We understand that Awaz has plans for other protests as well.
That's right. There's going to be a massive protest on the 12th at midday at Downing Street, midday onwards. And we're protesting, there's a whole range of organizations which are going to be there, communities which are represented, human rights organizations, students, academics, a lot of Dalit organizations, and a lot of women's organizations. We are not going to forget what Modi was responsible for in Gujarat in 2002, the genocide of the Muslim community. We're going to be highlighting the huge scale of gender violence under Modi and the ongoing
Kalpana, can you tell us in a little bit more detail precisely what Awaz is? You said it's a group of organizations.
It's a coalition.
What organizations are these? Could you tell us a little bit more about Awaz?
Well, Awaz represents a whole range of organizations with different positions, but we've come together to unite, to oppose Modi's visit, and more than that, to highlight the human rights violations which are going on at the moment in India. And we stand with, for example, the people of Bihar who have decisively rejected Modi in the recently concluded elections, decisively rejected the politics of hate which the BJP is promoting.
Right. Kalpana, your campaign, the protest campaign has been about the Prime Minister's so-called and alleged role in the 2002 Gujarat riots. But then he was, he received a huge mandate. He was elected to be the Prime Minister of the country. Has the focus shifted now? Is the protest now gone on from the 2002 Gujarat riots to something else? For example, something as recent as the growing so-called intolerance that India has witnessed?
Yes, of course. I mean, we see this as a continuity. We are not going to forget Gujarat. British citizens were killed in the Gujarat genocide. But we can see a continuity in this in terms of, incidents like Dadri and the many other lynchings which have followed around the beef campaign, which has been personally promoted by Modi in his election speeches and so on. For example, the incident of the burning to death of 2 Dalit children and the very contemptuous response by Modi's own minister when he compared it to the stoning of a dog. So I think, all of these things are part of what we are protesting about, the atmosphere of in which many, many people's lives are simply, have no value. And as for the mandate which he got, I think it's very clear that he promised, Achhe Din and so on. But what we're seeing is, mass dispossession, farmer suicides, attacks on labor rights and so on.
Right. All right. Kalpana, thank you. Yes, please go ahead. Please.
I think the other thing is that, this visit is all about, giving more concessions to British corporates. We in South Asia Solidarity Group see that as a very, very important issue that, we've got the new versions of the East India Company coming in and Modi welcoming them, offering up cheap labor and giving away India's resources to them.
Right. And Kalpana, if you could just briefly tell us that which are the other organizations or, members of parliament, or are there any other people of prominence who would be joining you in your protest march that you have planned at Downing Street?
Yes, well, we'll have very prominent members of the Labour Party joining us. We'll have, a whole range of prominent activists in Britain joining us on the day.
All right. Kalpana, thank you so much for speaking to us. Shiv, if I can just take a last question from you. I've also been reading that several top British scholars have also voiced their protest against, the invite that has been extended to the Indian Prime Minister. What has been the reaction in the British press about the Prime Minister's visit to the UK in so many years?
Well, particularly today, Avantika, it's interesting you should ask, because there has been, a series of both opinion pieces as well as reportage in the British broadsheet press, in newspapers like The Guardian, The Telegraph, about Narendra Modi. Several of them particularly scathing as far as Narendra Modi is concerned, highlighting his past, what's happening in the country right now, the beef politics, the intolerance war, all of those things have sort of been collated together to paint a picture of the Indian Prime Minister just hours before he lands in London. The anti-Modi voices, of course, rallying around the image that we've been putting out on our screens for our viewers right now. There's a fight over that as well. But the BJP in India has been particularly quiet as far as these protests are concerned. We should also alert our viewers that these protests have been going on not just now, but over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Lavina, our correspondent in London, has been reporting that there is this mobilization began at least a few weeks ago, in preparation for Narendra Modi's visit. So it's going to be really interesting to see what really happens once he actually gets there. Enormous Indian diaspora, in England, especially in London. So obviously, exponentially larger number of voices speaking both for and against Modi. Not something that he's not accustomed to, but I think this particular visit's going to be perhaps one of his most interesting as Prime Minister.
Well, we'll have to wait and watch and see what happens once the Prime Minister reaches UK for the very important visit. Shiv Arur, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us up to speed with all the developments that has been happening about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United Kingdom, and all of the controversies is happening a day after Diwali that will certainly make the Festival of Lights more special for the Indian diaspora. Well, India Today's Lavina Tandon did get a chance to speak to the Indian British community there, and this is what she had to bring us in this report.
In UK, Diwali is celebrated every year, but this year is a little bit special because Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be here soon after Diwali. So what difference does this make to the people who are celebrating? And we have just been to the House of Commons Diwali celebration. So here I have some people from those celebrations as well. And I would like to ask you, first of all, Shubh Deepavali.
Thank you very much.
So Prime Minister Modi will be here, and it is. So does that make any difference to this Diwali? Any particular things that you're doing for this Diwali because of him coming here?
We are coming to welcome him in our own little way from the British forces. Him coming here, I think, is going to celebrate Diwali in a special way for us, for the Indian community in the United Kingdom. But it's brand new in the post. So let's see how it goes.
How do you think, does this make Diwali any difference to the Diwali this year?
Well, Diwali is a celebration. It's a moment of joy. So, under say, the happiness that we have, that we will have our Prime Minister here, has made it definitely special.
Sir?
And it's definitely going to be an extraordinary event. As a diaspora community, in the past, I think it'd be fair to say that we've often been embarrassed by some of our prime ministers, whereas now we have a Hindu prime minister who is actually very comfortable in who he is, and that resonates with us. We've had to work hard to protect our identity and to establish ourselves here. So we're going to be giving him an even warmer welcome than I think we would to any other prime minister. Yes, it's wonderful to have him here.
Well, Hinduism has been, and nationalism and all that has come under a lot of focus, and not such a good, not the flavor of the month really, especially in India with awards being returned. him having said that, how does that reflect here?
I think it's fairly simple and straightforward. The orchestrators of Tamasha will carry on. It's a democracy. India is the largest democracy in the world, which is why they got freedom to act in the way they do. That is a testimony to the Indian public and to the Indian democracy and the Indian constitution. I think people should be proud of the fact that you can do that. But as far as Prime Minister Modi coming to the UK is concerned, let's be very clear. India is coming to the UK. India. And we, the NRIs, the Indian diaspora, welcome with both our arms wide open, and we're saying to the whole of India, thank you, we love you, and we're going to really, really put on a show. You know, if people really want to know what's going on, come to the UK. We know how to party.
All right, so the United Kingdom, they're all geared up to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Despite that controversial image that was beamed on the walls of British Parliament, there is palpable excitement amongst the Indian diaspora, and it is not just them who are excited about the Prime Minister's visit. Even parliamentarians are looking forward to the visit of the Prime Minister. Let's just listen in.
Well, of course it's different. I mean, you can't have the Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world visiting he starts his visit as Diwali ends and New Year's Day begins. What a way to celebrate the new year. Fantastic. So we couldn't have it any better, could we? But it does bring challenges, of course, because obviously the diaspora will be celebrating and as he arrives. And so that brings coordination issues.
Well, we're looking forward to it enormously. We'll be putting forward an idea for a meeting, because obviously the SNP are not just the governing party of Scotland, but the third largest party now in the House of Commons. So obviously when the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy comes visiting, I mean, any Prime Minister who visits is important, but the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy has a particular significance. It's been a while since the last visit, so all the more reason to celebrate the forthcoming one. My only advice to the Prime Minister would be, don't just stay in London, go to Scotland, because obviously we have a particular relationship with the peoples of India.
British parliamentarians, they're looking forward to the Prime Minister's visit, which will begin tomorrow. Well, with that, we're heading into a short break.
Ni sa ga ma 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 ni pa ma ga sa ni pa ma ni sa pa sa. जहाँ तक यादें याद आती रहेगी.